Hello my lovelies and welcome back to Art a la Carte. And today I am working on yet another something fun for people to do. Last week I had a coloring page that I put out, and this week I was going to make another coloring page. But then I began to get a little creative and was chatting with my patrons and asking them some different opinions, and I decided to try out making some paper doll sets and do it digitally because it's a lot easier to make sure that the pieces kind of match up and the clothes match up. But as I was working, it began to expand a little bit. So instead of being a traditional paper doll or just a traditional paper doll, it's kind of reminds me of when you get those kits that have the doll and you can customize the doll. Some people do it with like old dolls and they'll repaint them, face-ups, things like that. But there's also kits that you can get and you can choose, different clothes, of course, with like paper dolls, but you can actually buy like wigs and different facial features and things like that. And I was trying to figure out how I could do that with paper dolls. It became a little bit more involved. So this is the process. So as I said before, I draw everything out on my computer and I use Clip Studio Paint for the program that I draw on, and I have a Wacom Cintiq tablet, 13-inch HD. It's one of the monitored ones. I have a video talking about the digital art stuff that I use. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link for that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the actual process of creating them because the process, once you get them, the process is can be pretty intense. So I want to walk you through step by step how you make these dolls customizable and fun. If you look in the description box of this video, you will find a link that will take you to where you can download this paper doll file for free and print it out on your computer. Now, if you have cardstock paper, highly recommend that you print at least the doll portion on cardstock. But if you don't have cardstock, if you just have regular printer paper, you can print it off normally, but then find some thin cardboard, like an empty cereal box. Open that up, glue the whole paper down. Don't cut anything out, but glue that paper down onto that thin cardboard. If you do it just on regular printer paper, your doll is not going to be strong enough to stand on her own. I mean, you could definitely just lay her flat if you wanted to, but if you want to stand her up or prop her up on anything, you're going to have a little bit more stability. So either cardstock or gluing on cardboard, or both. You could do both if you want to. Now, the reason I say don't cut it out first is because then when you cut it out, you only have to cut it out once, and that saves you a lot of time and trouble. For the actual coloring process, you can choose several different methods. So as you can see here, I'm coloring with Copic markers. I've had friends of mine do it with crayons or just regular markers. You could do it with colored pencils. And I'm sure if you are tech savvy, you can actually transfer these over onto any digital program and you can actually color them using Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint or any of those digital painting programs. But anyway, however you want to color them. But I would just say that the coloring part is the part that I wouldn't rush on, because you can really make these dolls really kind of cool looking. This is kind of a format that young artists could do very easily, but a more experienced artist could have a lot of fun adding their own little artistic touches too. The first thing you probably will notice after you get this file is that there are a lot of options. So I have one doll base, and you can see that she doesn't have a hairstyle, and there are 6 different hair pieces. There are 3 front and 3 back. This gives you a lot of versatile options choosing just the right hairstyle for your doll. Now the only downside with this is when you choose it, it's kind of permanent, because unless you're super clever, and I haven't quite figured out a way how I would do it that would hold it tightly, is you're going to glue the front part on and the back part on, and I'll show that to you later on in the video. So you kind of have some options to make your doll, but it's not interchangeable. I suppose there's a way. I'm sure there's some geniuses out there that will figure out a way to make it interchangeable, so stay tuned for those posts. If you guys figure out a way to make it really cool interchangeable, let me know and I will post it over on my social media and share those ideas with you guys. The hair itself is also customizable, not just with the coloring options, but of course, swapping and switching which front goes to which back, but also you can customize even more. Let me go ahead and jump forward a little bit on the coloring portion of this. You also will have noticed actually that I did all the coloring before I cut it out. That way I'm not so concerned about bleeding over the outside lines. It's one less worry we have to think about. The only thing I did have to remember is there are certain parts that I don't cut out. So you'll see down by the legs, it flares out into a triangle. This, for one, gives the doll a little bit more sturdy of a base. It also allows me to have designed outfits where her legs are in different positions and they're not all the same positions. So in that part, I had to remember not to color over when I was coloring her legs and keep that part, white part, clean. For her bodice or swimsuit portion, I decided to do a very light coloring because I knew that if I used a thinner paper for the outfits that it might show through if I did a dark coloring, like if you did a really striking pattern on her swimsuit and then you had a white dress, that might show through a little bit. But totally up to you what you want to do and how you want to color it. So okay, now to the cutout part. So I tried to make it as easy as possible. The only area that proved to be a little bit challenging was her eyelashes. I think I would probably fix that design and not have them over her head, but I liked it. I liked how they had the bit of the dimension. One of the dolls I did when I cut her out, I did just cut straight through the eyelashes, and I decided if I wanted to give her eyelashes, I would actually cut them out of black paper and almost like put false eyelashes on her. I thought that'd be kind of cool. And then the other part on her that you want to cut out is the inner corner or the inner triangle of her arm, because there's a few tabs that will fit through there. I used scissors for the majority of it, and then for the really intricate parts I went in with like a little craft blade to cut it out. But if you had some really small craft scissors, I think that would work fine. I just only had my regular pair of scissors. Once you have the doll base and the hair pieces cut out, now it becomes the time to begin making some decisions about your doll. Depending on the hairpiece, you have different options. But one more tip before you actually glue the pieces together is I found as I began to test them together that the white edges where I cut out like the hair, there'd be that white border. And I didn't like that, so I actually took a marker and just very carefully colored that inner white edge of the paper that had been cut to match the sides so that it wasn't just so glaringly obvious. So that's something that you can think about doing as well. When you go to position the back piece and the front piece, don't be super quick to glue. You want to fit this to make sure that it's in the right angle for you. There's not really a definite spot for you to do that. I have a little spot that's kind of marked out on the back hair piece to add the glue, but you can move that around a little bit if you want to. You'll see with the front hair, I really kind of pushed it around so that some of the curls were coming in behind her face. You could angle it up just a little bit where it doesn't. What I found is once I had it where I wanted it to be, I clipped it with a little bit, took a paper clip and clipped it so that I didn't have to worry about the front piece moving while I tried to figure out how it worked with the back piece. Now, some of the pieces, like this short hair bob, depending on how I place it, can be a really short haircut or a really long haircut. So if I have it really short, the back piece is going to come up over the top of her head, so I'll just have to trim that off a little bit. But that's what makes this fun and customizable, because you can cut and trim all these pieces the way you want. So as soon as you have everything kind of in the place that you want them to be, I took the front hair piece and I flipped it over backwards, and you'll see that I'm tracing around it with a pencil. That way when I take it apart to put the glue on the doll, I can pretty easily get it back into the same position that I wanted it to be in before. I'm using a craft glue. You could use glue sticks, but I find sometimes glue sticks after a while, the adhesive wears off and they'll pop and the pieces will fall off. But if you use a nice craft glue, I actually got this stuff from the Dollar Tree, so it's not even super expensive. But I do find a little glue goes a long way. Then you don't want to use big globs of glue because it takes a long time for it to dry. So I have the front piece glued on the way I like it, and this glue also dries really quickly, so I like that. It doesn't slip and slide around too much. It gives you about 10 seconds to move things before it really sets good. So now I get to put in that back piece. And again, If you need to trim some of the card stock away or some of the paper away to make it fit, you can do that. You can kind of see here where I show you how it can be super short if you just cut that top part off, but it can be super long. It's what you want. And some of the other hair pieces, you can actually trim the curls off, like with the pigtails. If you don't want long pigtails, you can find areas on the actual piece that if you cut on that line, it'll trim off the hair and it makes it look just super natural, like that's the way it was supposed to be drawn. I'll show you an example. I did a rainbow coloring for the long ponytails and I really liked it. I didn't want to cut it, but it actually already chosen the hairstyle for my doll. And I wanted to show you guys how you could trim it to make it a shorter ponytail, and you could trim it at any one of these little junctures. I kind of drew it so that each curl kind of ends before it goes into the next curl. See how that works. Another thing you can do is you can print these out as many times as you want, and so you can create several different dolls. They don't all have to be the same. You don't have to just have one doll. You could have all sorts of different dolls. As you can see in here, I went and adding some extra detail by cutting out a few of the segments in the ponytail to give it a little peekaboos through there. You don't have to, you could keep it all solid, but if you want the extra challenge of creating kind of a more detailed doll, you could, there's options. It gives you options to thin her hair out if you want to. And of course there are the dresses and outfits. So I have one page of outfits that comes with this set. You know, if this becomes something that people really enjoy, perhaps I'll make more outfits to go with them. If you can think of themes for different outfits, let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see themed outfits for her to wear. If you guys decide to make one of these dolls, I would love to see it. Make sure to tag me in your social media posts. If anyone does tag me and I see it, I will cross-post it on my Instagram account if you tag me on your Instagram. So yeah, we can share the fun with this project. I would love for as many people to have the opportunity to make these dolls. If you want to share these videos on your social media so people can join in the fun as well. I love how everyone is just doing their part to bring a little bit of happiness, a little joy into our lives right now. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on any future videos. And let me know, what are some future video ideas that you'd like to see on this channel? Anyway, guys, stay safe, wash your hands, keep drawing, and as always, God bless you guys. We'll see you in the next art video. Bye-bye.